Thanks for joining us today. Good morning or good afternoon to you all. Welcome to today's webinar, Introducing HOMER Quickstart. I'm really glad you could join us. Before we do the introductions, just a few housekeeping items. We have you all muted. There are too many of you, but we have the question function enabled. So if you could just please submit your questions anytime that you have them via that window. We will be answering them as quickly as we can. We'll also have we will answer some of the good questions at the very end verbally. So this webinar is being recorded, so in a week or so it will be available for watching again if you have any problems. I'm Marilyn Walker. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at HOMER Energy, and I'm joined today by Stephanie Clawiter, who manages our component library. She'll be backing me up if need be, and also diving in to handle the question and answer session. I also want to thank our industry and component partners who are working with us to be seen in this quickly growing market. Here's what we'll cover today. The Quickstart product we're going to see today really goes back to HOMER's roots. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about history. Then we'll review what HOMER does and how it does it. I assume that many of you on this webinar have used HOMER Pro or earlier versions and are aware of it. So I want to talk about how the two versions of HOMER work together. We'll walk through a few demonstration projects so you can see how intuitive and simple it is to model a project with HOMER Quickstart. I'll show you how to access it, and at the end, we'll have plenty of time for your questions. HOMER was originally created at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory here in Colorado by our founder and Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Peter Lilienthal. HOMER stands for Hybrid Optimization of Multiple Energy Resources. And HOMER was born out of an NREL program called Village Power, which helped provide assistance for rural community electrification in 20 countries around the world. This was well before anyone was talking about microgrids. So HOMER was a unique approach that really demonstrated how this would even be possible. And it continues to be a unique approach. And in some ways, we're trying to get back to this original idea of HOMER and Village Power with Quickstart. It's meant to be an easy-to-use tool for off-grid systems. HOMER has become a global standard for microgrid feasibility assessment. It simplifies the complex process of designing a lowest-cost microgrid or distributed energy system. This map shows all the places in the world where HOMER has been used to model a system just since 2014 when we released HOMER Pro. HOMER Pro uses the same approach and algorithms as in earlier versions, but we've modernized the interface and greatly expanded the capabilities. HOMER uses a technology-agnostic platform to provide accurate and unbiased results comparing thousands of systems in a few minutes. Well over 1 million projects across the world have been modeled in HOMER in the last 3 years. HOMER Quickstart is specifically meant to increase the understanding of what HOMER is and what it does, increase understanding of how hybrid power systems work, help people understand the trade-offs in creating these systems, and quickly compare the advantages and costs of different system designs. The HOMER approach includes 3 different processes nested together. At its core, HOMER has a powerful simulation engine. It simulates the operation of an electric power system for 1 year, hour by hour. At each time step, HOMER looks for the most cost-effective way to meet the electric load based on the set of constraints that the user has defined. It also has an option to do sensitivity analyses, which allows you to look at the impact changes in variables you have no control over, such as fuel price or wind speed, what the impact is of those on your system design and system costs. So this slide is an overview of how HOMER works. Over here on the left, the user provides information on the economics, such as interest rate, on the electric load, on the site location, which allows HOMER to go get the renewable resources, the solar radiation and wind speed, and also the types of equipment that you want to consider, shown here as system components. HOMER then steps through the three nested processes I talked about in the last slide: simulation, optimization, and sensitivity. And then it provides very detailed results, at least in HOMER Pro it does. In HOMER Quickstart, we've cut these down to a much more basic set. We're not going to go over this slide in detail, but since many of you are familiar with HOMER Pro, I do want to point out some of the differences between Pro and Quickstart. Both programs are suitable for early design and exploration, but Quickstart is not meant to be a final solution. It's really just for early stage, at least at this time. We are considering making a premium version that will be more powerful. We're hoping to get feedback during this beta period that will help us understand how people use the product. Another important difference down here is that Quickstart runs only through a web browser. It does not need to be installed. And finally, it's definitely not meant to have the same power as HOMER Pro. Much simpler product. We just want to get some quick results and gain some understanding. Quickstart works independently of HOMER Pro, but it can also work with it. So you could analyze a project in Quickstart and then stop there. It'll save up to 10 different projects for you. Or you can download your file, open it in HOMER Pro, or give it to a HOMER Pro expert, and then have them work with you on a final design. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my web browser now and show you Quickstart. And one thing I want to request is that you not try to use Quickstart while I'm doing this. We're still working on issues with multiple users. So let me get through it, and then you can play all you want. Okay, whoops. Let's go to new project. Okay, here we are at the start screen. I have options here to create a new project, load an existing project, or use a sample file. I want to create a new project. This is going to be a solar installation in Arusha, Tanzania. So I'll call that Arusha Solar Demo. And then I'm going to have HOMER search for that location on the world map and pull down the resource data for it. So there we are in northern Tanzania. A couple other things on this screen. I'm going to leave the fuel price at $1 US per liter, and we have some economics over here that we don't want to change the first time through. I will show you later how you can change those things. So Quickstart lets you choose 4 basic load shapes based on a 24-hour usage pattern. And you can't change the details of the pattern, but for any shape, you can change the average daily load here in kilowatt hours per day, how much electricity your load is using in a 24-hour period. I'm going to select a community load here, and so these include the pattern of both commercial and residential customers added together, and I'm going to set it to 200 kilowatt hours per day. I want to show you this Learn More button that's on every page. You're going to find that throughout Quickstart. So when you click on Learn More, it's going to pull up a short lesson about what you're looking at. So in this case, it explains the load profile shapes I've just shown you. And down here, it also tells you other things you can do in HOMER Pro. Okay, we're going to look for the next big orange Next button on every page. And the next step is then to select the types of equipment that we might want to use. HOMER is going to help us understand what is most cost effective and what's going to work. So the first thing is solar photovoltaics, or PV. Quickstart has already loaded in the global horizontal irradiance for my location in Arusha. And we have both the daily radiation in yellow and also the clearness index in green. And if you hover over these bars, you can see the average, the daily average for that month. I do want to consider solar PV. This is a solar project. So for now, I'm going to leave the type as generic flat plate, and I'm going to leave the cost at $3,000 per kilowatt. But you could change that if you had more information. I'm going to click on Learn More a little bit just to see what HOMER's doing. What is Quickstart doing with my PV? And here's some important information. We see that it's connected to the AC bus and that we can change that later. There's also information here about the inverter and the price, the efficiency, and how those are figured out. So that's worthwhile, certainly when you're first learning about it, to understand what it's doing. Okay, we can go ahead and close that. Now, Arusha is not a particularly windy spot, so I'm not going to do wind, but I do want to show you that it has pulled in the wind resource data for my location. If I did want it to look at wind, we have lots of different turbine types here. I'm going to go ahead and close that up and continue. Quickstart assumes that you want to use batteries, so this window opens with it checked. Again, we have lots of choices of systems, including both lead acid and lithium ion types. And I'm going to start with just use the generic lead acid battery that it includes. Okay, so now we've finished the setup, and Quickstart shows us a summary of what we've done in case we need to change anything. One thing I want to point out, we did not see a generator screen, but Quickstart assumes a generator, and it uses what we call an auto-size genset. It's basically going to create a generator that's kind of the perfect size for the first step, and then you want to go in later and fix that because, of course, real generators come in different sizes, but you're going to get some idea of what kind of the ideal size is, so you don't have to guess. Okay, then we're going to click on Go, and there we are. Quickstart modeled 4 possible types of systems based on the generator, PV, an inverter which it added, and our battery. So on line 1, the system has all of these. In line 2, it looked at a system without solar. Line 3, a system without any storage, and line 4, just a generator. And these are ranked from the lowest to the highest cost of energy, which is also the same order as the net present cost. That's the total lifetime, effective total lifetime cost of the system. So in this particular location then, this fully hybrid system with a generator and PV and storage is most cost effective. And we're seeing a cost of energy at 45 cents a kilowatt hour. Quickstart displays 5 key output results for these system types, economic results, and the initial capital costs, the annual operating cost, and these are all in US dollars, the levelized cost of energy, accounting for everything in dollars per kilowatt hour, the net present cost, and also the amount of fuel being consumed in liters per year. You can note that you can hover over any column to get more information. We can also click on the details to learn more about this system or any other system. So I'm going to do that for what we call our winning system. And here we are. At the top, we have a summary of the architecture and the costs. I want to dive into the cost summary a bit. We have the capital costs of creating the system. We have fuel, often the greatest cost. Operating expenses, by what the expenses are, whether it's the generator or other things. Replacement costs, some of this equipment will not last the entire project, so we anticipate that, and we have a small amount of salvage at the end. Now, I'm not going to walk through all these results. There's a lot of detail about all the different aspects of the system. I'm just going to encourage you later to go on and play with this and see what it can do. Okay, get back. Okay. So I want to show you now how to change things. So the schematic down here shows how our system is tied together. This is the AC and the DC bus. And we have our genset, our PV, our electric load, our converter, and our battery here. So I'm going to click on the load, and here it is. We could change the shape. If we had more information, perhaps we can change the type of load. There's also things you could do with the variability that changes peak load and things. We're not going to do that. So any of these things, you could add wind to your system. You can open PV. We could put the PV on the DC bus. Okay. So the generator, again, I talked about is one of the places people may want to change. So HOMER actually estimated that a 28 kilowatt generator is right for this system. So you could then go in and like change that to one that made sense. We're not going to do that. So I want to just show you how to change the economics. Go here to My Projects, go to Details. And now we have our map again with our location, with the name. And here we can now change the discount rate and the inflation rate if we think those are not good numbers. What I want to do now is open up another project I've already created. Got that here under My Projects. This is from a windy part of Wyoming, and I'm modeling an off-grid neighborhood. So we'll just go to look at the details here. Here we are in southeast Wyoming with a superb wind resource. If we go look at our schematic now, you can see everything here. You can see that I did, of course, ask HOMER to look at wind. I was using an 800 kilowatt hour per day load, and this was a residential load shape. So it's similar to my other system in that I have, I have PV, I have storage, I have a generator. And if we go up to the details here, to the, to the results, we now see that in this case, the least cost system is actually a hybrid of wind, solar, and a generator. And then we have some new information on the results page. This is called the optimal system type graph. So in this case, Quickstart ran every combination of these two variables, fuel price and wind speed. And these are fixed values in the current way that Quickstart works. You can't change these. But it looked at like this plus this plus this, etc. So on the optimal system type, we have fuel price along the horizontal axis, wind speed along the vertical axis, and then a division of when different system types make sense. So the green area here are fully hybrid, I'm going to call it, wind, solar, storage, and generator. And down here, these systems are wind do not make sense. So it's really an interaction between fuel price and wind speed. And so that really shows you the importance of understanding your wind resource really well. The more expensive that fuel becomes, of course, then the more feasible wind becomes at lower speed. The last thing I want to demonstrate is how to open your Quickstart files in HOMER Pro, or how to give them to a HOMER Pro user. I'm going to go back to my Arusha project and click download HOMER file. Now the details of this will change with your browser, how you open it, but I'm in Chrome, so I right click. And sometimes this takes a minute, so bear with me. Sometimes it takes more than a minute. There we go. So here we are in Homer Pro, Arusha Solar. Go to results. There we are. And it's using one more significant digit, but these are basically the exact same: cost of energy, net present cost, operating cost. A lot more information here in Homer Pro. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now. Okay. And I do want to show you how to access Homer Quickstart. You want to go to quickstart.homerenergy.com. It's going to ask you to either log in or create a user account. And this is the same account that you've used for Homer Pro or other Homer products. So please don't create a new account. That just makes it a lot harder for us to try to help you. After you do that, you'll be redirected back to Quickstart. You can save up to 10 different projects. And I do want to say we're looking for lots of feedback. So we really appreciate your comments and completing our user survey. I'm going to show you that. Also, how to report a bug. So at the top of Homer Quickstart, there's a support thing that'll get you support or actually report a bug directly to the development team. And then we have this give feedback over on the right. That will open a survey that takes just 1 to 2 minutes to complete. And we would really very much like to know your thoughts on Homer Quickstart, because we're really looking forward to this becoming a valuable resource for you all. Okay, and I'm going to hand it over to Steffi, who's been paying attention to your questions, is going to help answer them.
Thanks, Marilyn. Yeah, so if you want to ask any questions, don't be shy about typing those into the question box. And I've got some questions that have already come in so far, which I'll answer. And as you continue to submit, I'll continue to answer those questions. And one of the questions is asking about modeling the grid within Quickstart. And actually in Quickstart, you are not able to model with the grid because Quickstart is designed for the energy access market. And Quickstart is a simplification of Homer Pro in a lot of ways. And having a grid often makes the economics too complex or unattractive to get interesting results. And so to be able to model with the grid, you should be using Homer Pro, and that will have all the capabilities that you need there. Another question is asking about thermal loads within Quickstart. And again, you cannot model specifically a thermal load. So it does put some limitations on your cogeneration system. It will work on a Mac. It will work on anything with a web browser. So that is the advantage over Homer Pro, is that there's more accessibility to Quickstart. And are you allowed to upload your own demand load profile? And the answer is no, not yet. Of course, we encourage your feedback, and we are considering making a Quickstart Premium version, which would have these extra features. But right now within Homer Pro, or within Quickstart, excuse me, you can only choose from the 4 load profiles and then scale them to match your demand approximately. But you could also change the variability with that. And regarding currency, so far it's only in US dollars, but that would be a great request for a feature. So give us your feedback on that. As far as deferrable loads go, that's also something that should be modeled within Homer Pro. Quickstart does not yet have that capability. Another question is, can I model more than one generator? And the answer is just one generator or no generator at all. You can go in and remove the generator by editing your schematic, which is in your results page. And a lot of questions are coming in not just about Quickstart, but also about HOMER Pro. So I want to be pretty clear about the difference between Quickstart and HOMER Pro. And Quickstart is a more simplified online tool that's for optimizing the economics of small off-grid power systems. And so it gives you quickly an idea of your system. And within HOMER Pro, you can use a wider range of components with multiple generators, with deferrable loads, with thermal loads. And you can simulate with your own load specifically and in smaller time steps as well. You can select your time step within HOMER Pro. Can you add technology manufacturers is a question. And right now the components that you can choose within Quickstart are our generic components and components of our partners, but those can continue to change. And if you have any technology requests, I would be your contact information there for both HOMER Pro and Quickstart. Another question about load growth, and that is particularly tricky with the energy access market, and I know, but for the rough system, you should just take one estimate of your load and do multiple models for perhaps different years of the project that you're trying to do, or use HOMER Pro because there is a multi-year function where you can take into load growth, where you can take load growth into account, or you can do a sensitivity on load. Are there any other batteries than lead acid? Yes, there are many other battery technologies, and you look in the drop-down menu within Quickstart. Regarding sensitivities, the sensitivities are fixed within Quickstart, and so it, depending on your system, suggests sensitivities of wind resource or discount rate or fuel price. And those values, once you click the calculate with sensitivities button, those are calculated in as Marilyn showed. When is it out of beta, and will it be available on a for-free basis? And that's a good question. The concept of Quickstart is to go back to Homer's roots, where there is a free version. Of course, we would like to make Quickstart even better, so we're considering a Quickstart Premium in the future, which would be a for-fee basis, so paid version. But we envision Quickstart, a version of Quickstart, to always be free. And in case you are looking for a recording of this webinar, we will have one available in about a week. So in case you missed the beginning, that will be available to you.
So there's a question on here. Do you require a HOMER Pro license to run Quickstart? Absolutely not. You can use that same, we do require an account, but not a license. So you can give that URL, that quickstart.homerenergy.com, to anyone. There was another one. let's see. Oh, shoot. Somebody wanted to know the pricing. HOMER Quickstart is free. HOMER Pro pricing is on our website at homerenergy.com. It's really depends what the pricing costs and what kind of packaging you buy. So a lot of the questions here are, you know, about capabilities that are really inside HOMER Pro. So we will be, I see people talking about capabilities, and I really encourage you to go, you know, fill out the survey, play with it a little bit. I only showed you, you know, a quick demo, but we would love to get your feedback on that and like what, you know, what value would be for you. I would like to point out to those of you who have Macs, we do have people run this successfully, run HOMER Pro successfully on a Mac with a Windows emulator. Actually, some of our own engineers here do that, so that's absolutely possible. It just doesn't run native in there. Can you move a Quickstart file from one user to another? Not at this time. That's something that I am considering for maybe a future version of it. So again, it would be nice to capture that as a request. Anything else, Steffi? Yeah, go ahead.
There's one asking whether you can force your generator size to be 0 kilowatts, so essentially not to have the generator. And yes, you can do that. You go into the schematic at the end and then remove the generator. So you can definitely do a 100% renewable system within Quickstart. And fuel cells are an option within the generator component. And yeah, I think those are most of the questions. So thank you for attending. And we will be emailing you the link to the webinar as soon as we have it. Thank you very much.